Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Sorry to keep you waiting on this one. It's been a rather busy few days. We've tried a couple of different ideas in the run-up to this build that didn't really work. One of them kind of worked, but there's just not enough space in the camp area to build what I wanted to. We can have a look here at where I'm actually situated today. We're in the sort of central mountains there, on the edge of the Savage Divide, between the forest and Savage Divide. There's a lot of very interesting spots along this ridgeline to build in. There's a lead deposit just up the hill from where we are, so where we're looking there. And a couple of other bits and pieces that just sort of stick out in interesting ways, give nice views, just make for quite cool places. But I spotted this place halfway down the cliffside I thought was quite interesting. It's got a couple of different levels to it, which I really like. And kind of lends itself to doing something a little more dynamic than usual. So this build kind of builds somewhat organically off the space we're working in, which, as those of you who've been around the channel for a while will know, is kind of a thing I like doing a lot. So we're going to take the environment as our starting point, which I realise in a sense sounds obvious, but it's really, in this case, building something that fits to the shape of the landscape. What we're doing here is just trying to make sure we've got the right height for this upper level. It's a bit of an odd place to start in some ways, but it's kind of the point from which everything else builds off of. So that's why we're starting here. Basically got the height right there, but I'm not quite happy with the angles and things. So I'm going to make one more adjustment. As you can probably tell, this took a little while to get here. There we go. Important thing with things like this is to get the core starting point, like this staircase in this case, absolutely spot on before you carry on, because otherwise it's a total nightmare to go on and adjust. There we go. That looks to be about right. So we'll build the foundation off the bottom of it now. So these hollowed out wooden foundations here, they do have a slight problem that creatures can spawn underneath them, which is more of an annoyance than a serious problem. It's just a case that they can't actually destroy the foundations, so your camp build is absolutely fine and safe and all that. But you do have some issue with the fact that you can't then shoot them because they're stuck underneath and they're protected by the invulnerable foundation pieces. We're going to move down to the lower level, and you'll see just here in a moment one of the reasons I picked this location, because when I was moving through it I fell down a little hole just behind that ramp there, which I thought would make kind of a cool emergency secret exit type of thing, because, you know, what house is complete without an emergency exit of some kind? So that's why we're leaving that little hole there uncovered. Also, it kind of works better with just building in general. And I can't snap a wall in there, which is a little sad. I wanted to put a doorway over it, but yeah, just tied it up a bit, but it is what it is. So it creates quite an interesting shape build, working on these multiple levels and turning the corner there in the what will become the entranceway. But I'm quite happy with how it looks. As have been discussed before, it's very easy with the snapping mechanic being as prevalent as it is in Fallout 76. Wind up with a very boxy looking structure, so I like that this kind of breaks away from that. So we've got the walls into place, nice and easy, snapped in. Swap out a couple of the doorways. The staircase, you can see, is now on at 90 degrees to where it was originally, and a little closer to the cliff face here. It just works better that way and fits with the rest of the build much more neatly and tidily. So we've got that floor piece there as our bridge, for want of a better word. I supported it with a couple of metal pillars, which I did off camera as it turned out, but it just goes straight down to the rock, so it's not too much of a problem. This is a very useful thing I discovered. The edges of certainly these wooden foundations, I don't know if it's true of the concrete ones as well or not, will have a certain amount of forgiveness in terms of their clipping through each other like that. It allows you to press them quite up close to upper levels if that's what you need to do. Something I did at the previous build, the cliffside one on the edge of the Toxic Valley. But here it's just allowed us to create a nice little step. It's a little bit bigger than it looks like it should be. That was slightly awkward. But the foundations quite naturally guide the player up, and they allow you to climb them even when you might ostensibly not be able to do that. So it still works as a step reasonably well, at least as far as travelling around the structure works. So we've got the doors switched out, and we're going to move on to putting the angled pieces in so we get the roofs over the ramps here. Got a couple of roofs snapped in already. There we go. Two different styles of triangle piece depending on which way you want to angle it, and then got this single upside down one for plugging the gap. There we go, we're getting somewhere now. Still a little bit more to go. We'll get a few more roofs on there. There we go. For the most part, getting the roofs in is relatively simple. You can play around with it and come up with what you like. This bit, however, was considerably more problematic, so I'm going to take a bit of a longer look at it. Just getting these railings to snap on was a total nightmare. As you can see there, they weren't going to cooperate. So what I ended up doing was taking the roofs off, taking basically all the walls off, and using this staircase to snap floors in. As those railings, they won't snap to walls, they snap to floors, which is the important distinction. You see there we've pulled the walls out beneath and we've got 2 of them in. This end one, however, is still not cooperating. Take the roof off, nothing. Take the wall off, nope. Take the other wall off, still nope. In this case, it's actually the staircase underneath that's causing the problem. So we'll drop down, take the ramp out, put another foundation in and move that staircase around, and then it'll go in. There is one small caveat. You would have to jump straight to this stage of it if you want to do it as of today, because the change in today's patch will mean you can't snap the floor onto the top of the stairs so that it clips through anymore. The system's been modified so it won't allow you to do that. Anyway, we'll pull out those floors, leaves the railings floating, and we'll put everything back together again. That ramp in, get the walls back in, head back round up the top, put the roof on, and there we go. You can actually run all the way over the top if you want to, although that was not really the original intention. So moving on outside the front door, I wanted to put a little kind of garden fence around here, not so much for planting or anything like that, more just to kind of break up the front edge. A little bit more character, but it was, as per with a building in a Fallout game, wildly uncooperative. I had hoped to put a gate in there, that didn't want to work. The only piece I could get to snap there was that corner piece, but if I wanted to use it on the other side, it wouldn't snap in, partly because of the angle of the ground. I'm hoping this sort of problem will be overcome with the bulldozer feature, but I haven't had a chance to test that out yet, so we'll see how that goes in the next few days, hopefully. You see, sometimes this gate will snap, but it won't then place, and sometimes it won't snap at all. That should be changing, however, in with this patch as well. It should be a little more clear on where it will and won't go, so that should be good. If you haven't seen that patch notes video, there should be a card somewhere available, so just click on that little I button in the corner, you'll find it. So one of the big issues we've got here is we don't actually have a bedroom in this place yet. So that's why we've pulled the roof off. We're going to drop this internal staircase in and add an extra floor up over this main section of the building. Tried a few different bits and pieces here. I wanted to have the room sort of with an angled roof, but at 90 degrees to where it ends up being. But because of the cliff sort of in the back corner, it just wouldn't let me snap an angled piece in there. Which I think it's probably that cliff. I don't really know. I couldn't figure it out. But if we work this way, it's much more cooperative. So the end result is pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. I'm also going to add a little bathroom just at the top of the 2 ramps. I've done that off camera, but it's dead easy to do. It's just a case pull the wall out, snap a foundation on, and then put walls around it. But as I say, I did it off camera, so we'll have to use our imaginations a little bit there. The roof's been a little uncooperative. Build order obviously being somewhat more essential in this game than it even was in Fallout 4. But we'll move that one over, and it goes in fine the other way around. Don't ask me why, but it works. One last section of roof to add in. I actually did this roof section 2 or 3 times, but this is the one I settled on, so put that in, a couple of triangle pieces to close it up, and we'll have a look around the fully decorated finished product. Here we go. See the cliff edge up there makes a nice little garden sort of overlooking the rest of the place, which I like. A little fenced off area here to give it a bit more shape, I suppose. I quite like. This is one thing we won't be able to do anymore, use doors that I haven't got the plans for. Changed in the patch. If I had a power armor frame, I would be putting it right in front of us there, but unfortunately I don't. There we go, and the little gap in the cliff there is still open. You can drop through there if you need to make a quick escape. Still wish I could have put a doorway in there. This sort of ramp or walkway up I really like. It's kind of one of my favourite features, I think. Nice views out from the corner here. Plants to make it look nice. It just really gives it so much, sort of leads into the feeling of the whole build, which I really like. We'll come into the living room. A little bit of furniture in there, some of which I again won't have anymore, which is... there we go. Can't say I'm surprised, I did expect that glitch to go. And a little bathroom. As I say, just one foundation snapped on with some walls and a roof. Nice little view out for anybody who's availing themselves of the facilities. Close the door and have a look out onto the back patio, I suppose, but it's the plateau out here. I did originally have a turret out here, but it was using up more of the build budget than I wanted to. Incidentally, it's very close to the budget limit, just a couple of pieces under, which is why that turret doesn't look great. But I wanted to have this back approach covered, but I didn't want the turret frame I usually use to take up any more of the build budget than I needed. One small shortcoming of this location is you often get scorch beasts flying around, so they haven't attacked it yet, but kind of the looming threat is always there. We'll take a little bit more of a look around our kitchen living room here. A little seating area, I haven't got any TVs or anything yet, but the jukebox adds a bit of character. Coca-Cola poster on the wall. That's the cooking stove, and I've just used up one of the few tables I've got there to improvise as a kind of work surface. I swapped out the 2 wooden foundations here as well for concrete ones, because obviously got the burning barrel on the end of the armour bench there. It's just going to burn right through a wooden floor. But anytime I can avoid having that on wood, I prefer to do that. Limited decoration, as I say, because I'm running out of room. We'll go and have a quick look around our little balcony area. We've spent so much time trying to put a railing on. There we go, a little barbecue, a little bit of planting, turret covering the front approach there, and a little seating area. Dead simple, but it's nice, I like it. So obviously, Fallout 76 limits us a lot more than we have been in the past, particularly with Fallout 4, and that is frustrating at times, but one of the things I really like about this build in particular is how much I've managed to achieve in terms of making it look comfortable and homey, despite the limitations, and reasonably interesting in dynamic shape as well. There we go, we've got the sloped roof, got a bed in there, nice little writing desk, cuckoo clock. Lighting's very basic, it works. Unfortunately, when you snap a roof onto the end of that wall, it clips through ever so slightly, but we can't have everything, I suppose. Yeah, I'm really happy with the overall look of this, which made me very, very sad when the day before the patch drops, I ended up having the camp moved because somebody else overlapped with it. I'm kind of crossing my fingers for the unlikely event that it might just place back when I log back in, but it's never intended to be permanent anyway. It'll be coming down in time for the next build, so looking out over the overlook there and up onto the upper level. So here on the right you can see one other thing that I did off camera, which is just to snap a quick shed together here. It's just snapped onto the foundations we put on up here earlier with a door on it. We've got a fusion generator in there, and to keep it out of the main house, chemistry station's in here as well. Couldn't actually get a roof over this bit, again because of the rock face there, but it does give me somewhere to run the power cables out of, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. Water purifiers, our water pump that I really wish worked faster, and a little bit of an adhesive farm there. Not that I ever run out of adhesive, but it gives you a nice mix of foodstuffs there as well, so that works quite well. So, quick look over the top again. Let's have a look at it in the night time. Because the lighting in this place is quite nice. I'm quite pleased with that. Gives it kind of a cosy feel. As I was saying earlier, when I actually came to record this nighttime part of the tour, there was a scorch. You can just sort of see his legs sticking out there. It got stuck under the foundations, spawned in under there, and I couldn't get him out. I tried throwing grenades, I tried shooting him, I even tried to build a turret under there, but that wouldn't work. Just no joy. This room in particular is one of the two that I like the lighting on the most and the layout of. I really like how that came out. I'm quite happy with that. Chuffed, even. I actually quite like the fact that Tinker's Bench's got a nice little light on it as well. That's kind of warming. I like it. Same thing up here. I tried a few different lighting options for the bedroom, but those 2 lamps ended up being the most... They put out enough light without being too in your face. It was a bit more discreet than using a ceiling light. So, hopefully we'll get some better options when I find more plans for that, but making the best of what I've got right now. quick look out onto the patio here in the evening. I jump back from that door swinging at me. Yeah, nice place to chill out. As far as wasteland living goes, I think you could do a lot worse. A quick look around the farm and the generator room. A little turret up on the edge of the cliff there overlooking the approach, which is the main area to spawn in. I did get asked on stream the other night actually whether or not it dumps me off the cliff. It doesn't. It puts me usually with my back to it, just in front of the front entrance, occasionally a little further up the cliff, but so far spawning in here has been just fine when I fast travel. But there we go. So I do hope you enjoyed that, found it interesting. If you did, you know what to do by now. As always, social media links down in the description. And do come catch up with me on one of my streams as well. That should hopefully be tomorrow. It was supposed to be tonight, but, you know, this is what it is. For now, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll be speaking to you all very, very soon.